Hey guys, welcome to Rosie's Dessert Spot. In this tutorial, I'll be demonstrating how to create this gorgeous purple two-tiered cake with a glitter tier and how to organize these gorgeous hexagon shapes on top as well. Before we get into it, just letting you guys know that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is a platform where you can access video content from experts in just about any industry. So you've got like the culinary, the videography, business, etc. These classes or videos can be viewed in the comfort of your own home for a small monthly subscription fee. There is such a large range of skills to be learned, whether you are a business or just want to better understand and learn a hobby. Skillshare is a great platform for this. I've personally used Skillshare to look up filmmaking, cinematography sort of tutorials, and they've really helped me to better understand kind of camera work, editing software and whatnot. But if you're into cooking instead, which is probably why you're here, they do have lots of cool classes for cooking as well. If you're interested, the first 500 people to sign up using my link below will get 2 free months of Skillshare Premium. So go ahead and check that out. And without further ado, we'll get started. For this cake, I've used 2 7-inch cakes and 2 5-inch cakes. Level off each one, and I've got a very large serrated knife. Serrated knives work best for cakes. Cut them in half and then fill them in with whatever frosting you like. This is dark chocolate ganache mixed with some buttercream to make a really nice, rich, and all the while creamy filling. Next, create a thin layer of frosting over the whole cake. This is a crumb coat, traps in any crumbs. And I use the same frosting for this, although I did finish off in dark chocolate ganache. Go around with your super tall bench scraper or just a regular bench scraper. I do sell these on my website, Rosie's Dessert Spot. Clean off the top edge and then pop it into the fridge to set for at least 20 minutes. Work on your top tier next. So this is a 5-inch cake. There's a 5-inch cake board underneath if you did see that. You really need that for tiered cake, so do not skip out on that cake board. Follow the same steps for the crumb coat and into the fridge it goes to set completely. After about 20 minutes, add on your final layer of frosting. Because this is going to be a fondant covered cake, I've used dark chocolate ganache to cover my whole cake, both the top tier and the bottom tier. Dark chocolate ganache is the best medium to use under fondant. Repeat the same steps for your 8-inch and then pop them back into the fridge to set for another 20 minutes till it's nice and hard. You can also let it set at room temperature overnight in a cake box. Just make sure you haven't used any fresh fruit or perishable fillings or items in your cake. Roll out your white fondant to about 3mm in thickness. Here I've spread shortening all over the cake, and that's going to help our fondant to stick really nicely, and it just makes it a lot easier to smooth down. Push out any air from the very top, seal in those top corners because they're very sharp, and if it's going to rip anywhere, it's going to be at the very top. And then gently peel back those pleats and massage your fondant onto the cake. You'll be surprised how stretchy this stuff is. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this is Bakels fondant. Once it's all nice and attached to the cake, grab your fondant smoother and smooth out any edges at the top and the sides as well. Cut off the excess, and then I use 2 fondant smoothers, and I like to clap them at the very top and kind of pinch in the corner. This creates really nice sharp edges. Pop it into the fridge to set, or just at room temperature if you find you get condensation, depending on how warm your climate is. And then repeat the same step for your top tier. However, I am adding gel colors to create a purple fondant instead. Always color your fondant the same color as the glitter or the luster dust that you're adding. Just creates a much smoother look. Again, cutting off the excess, making sure to get those sharp edges and a clean side and top. Spread shortening, again vegetable shortening, all over the top of your cake. You can pat it on with a brush, and I found that it actually worked a lot better with an airbrush, and blowing air around the corners of your tin containing the dust, and that'll blow it directly on your cake. Granted, I did get a whole lot on my tabletop, but if you want to save time and you don't want any brush strokes on your cake, this is the best way to do it. Next, we're going to create a marble for the bottom tier. So I've got a log of white fondant, 2 logs of purple side by side, rolling it, twisting it, and then rolling it back into a log, and just repeating this process until I like just how concentrated that marble look is. once you're happy with the amount of purple in there, roll it into a bowl and then roll it out completely. I've used cornstarch so my fondant doesn't stick to the counter. Every time you roll back and forth, grab your fondant, rotate it to make sure that it doesn't stick to your countertop, and then cut out your shapes. This is a geometric shape cutter and it has multiple, as you can see, multiple hexagons next to each other, so it's super handy, really quick. I found this at a shop called My Dream Cake in Hallam, Victoria, but they will be available online as well. Once they're all cut out, apply again some shortening all over your cake. If you don't want to use shortening, you can still use water, for example. So brush on a little bit of water behind the hexagons and then apply them onto your cake. Alternatively, you can steam the fondant instead completely, and that'll make it nice and tacky. I've arranged them so there's half a hexagon and then a solid hexagon right next to it. Cut out a circle in the middle of one row, and I kind of have that hole in the hexagon next to a solid hexagon, and I kind of switched it up that way. But you can do it however you like anyway, just find the kind of pattern that works for you. Once you reach the very top, you can trim off any excess if there's a bit overhanging from the top. Mine ended up being perfectly aligned, so I didn't have to cut anything down. Here I have some super thick straws. You could use wooden dowels instead. Make sure to measure them with the very top of the cake so it's flush with the fondant, and then trim off the excess and push it back in. These are in place to support the weight of your top tier. Now, my top tier, important, has been resting in the freezer for 10 minutes instead of the fridge, so it's nice and solid. I can handle it with my hands and it won't dent the it won't dent the fondant or the frosting. Hide the seam with the ribbon, and then I'm creating the little flowers that I'm adding into the hexagons. Adding those on with a little bit of water. This is a blossom plunger cutter that I've used. With a little bit of water, attach some edible gold driggies. Now you don't have to do this, you can have solid hexagons all the way through. And that is how you make a really cool purple hexagon and glittered cake. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and give it a go. There are alternatives, by the way. So if you don't have vegetable shortening and you've used fondant, what you can do is use a handheld steamer. So what you'd use to normally iron your clothes, and you gently go around your cake and steam it. This will make the fondant really sticky, and so your glitter will stick to it like a magnet. Alternatively, you can paint it directly onto your cake. This style of glitter, you can't really make into a paint because it's just glitter, there's no pigment in it. But when you have like gold dust, for example, or the pearlescent kind of dust, they tend to be pigment based, and so you can mix vodka or rose water spirits or lemon juice and create a paint and go over your cake. Make sure that the fondant underneath that paint is the same color as what it is you're painting with, and that way it shows through a lot easier and it looks cleaner. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe. We upload a new cake decorating video every Tuesday. And if you recreate this or something similar, please tag me, #Rosie's Dessert Spot, so I can see it as well. Thanks guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next tutorial.